Hello everybody! Happy Art Day! Welcome to Freakin' Art! My name's Anastasia and I'm so glad you decided to stop by and make some art with me today. Now here in the United States, we're going to be celebrating an amazing human being and great American on Monday. That's right, Monday is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Martin Luther King spent his whole life trying to bring compassion, fairness, and equality to everyone. So no matter the color of your skin, your gender, your age, or your religion, he believed that everybody should be equal under the law. Now he has this really amazing speech called I Have a Dream, and it's all about his vision for a better America where everyone is treated equally and fairly. Now, I think that is just such a wonderful and beautiful idea, and I thought we would celebrate Mr. Martin Luther King by harnessing our own positive dreams for a better world. So today, we're going to be making an I Have a Dream dream catcher. Now, dream catchers are very important in Native American culture. They're a sacred object made by mothers and grandmothers for children to promote positivity and peace. Isn't that wonderful? Now, each part of the dream catcher is very important. The circle represents the world and unity. The web is to catch all of our negative thoughts and bad dreams. And then all of our good dreams and our positive thoughts would trickle down through the feathers and land right on our sleeping selves. Isn't that great? Now I know that all of you have some great big dreams of how to make the world better, and why not use this beautiful sacred object to help us capture those? So for today's class, we're going to need a paper plate, some yarn, a pair of scissors, and if you have a hole punch would be good. I'm going to be using a pen. It works just as good. And if you have some beads, that will be fun. And if you have some feathers, that would be great too. I just went ahead and cut out my own. Now, before we start making our wonderful dream catchers, let's do a little bit of a breathing exercise and a stretch so we can be really focused and bring all that positive energy into our artwork. Okay, are you ready? Everybody breathe in and breathe out. Let's do that one more time. Breathe in and breathe out. Let's shrug our shoulders back. Can we shrug them forward? Let's interlace our fingers and stretch out our hands and our arms. I feel focused and ready to go. I hope you do too. So, to start, we're going to take our paper plate and fold it in half. I always have a hard time folding this directly in half, but get it as close as you can go. Now I'm going to make a little cut with my scissors here. And we're going to cut out this whole circle. Now I am saving some of my plate so I can cut out my feathers and my heart in the center here. So I'm trying not to cut too many lines. So let's go ahead and get this circle of the plate out. Okay, so we should all have a big hole in the center of our plate. I'm going to put this to the side. Now I'm going to take one of the pieces of the plate I have left and cut out a heart to go in the center of my dream catcher. So I'm folding the half piece of plate in half, and I'm going to cut out a heart. Now you can always trace a heart if you have a heart around, or if you don't feel confident in your heart drawing ability, but that's silly because I believe in you. Then you can always ask for a little bit of help from somebody else, like an adult that's around. Okay, so I have my heart. It's a little bit of a tall, narrow heart, but that's okay. Now I'm going to cut out another little heart inside, so all I have is the outline of a heart. So I'm going to try to follow that edge and leave maybe like a finger width amount of space in there. Okay, so you should have a little heart. I just have a white paper plate. Maybe you have a really fun, funky colored one. For this one, I painted the whole plate. If you want to paint your plate, I would go ahead and do that right now and paint your heart too, and then let it dry before you do anything else, okay? Now I'm going to save this other part of my plate right here to make my feathers at the end. Now I'm going to take this plate and I'm going to punch some holes in it. Now you can punch as many as you want. I think I'm going to go with 8, like the 8 legs that a spider has. In honor of our web we have to catch all those bad thoughts and dreams. So if you have a hole punch, that would work probably a lot easier than what I'm going to do. But I'm going to go ahead and just poke holes along this rim here. Now these ones I poked really close to the edge and they broke easily. On this one I poked them a little bit further away, that seemed to work better. Just going to go ahead and poke some holes. I'm going on this top part of the rim here. So I'm got one. And the pen got stuck right away. And I'm going to go right across from that on the other side. 2. Now let's do it in half this way. 3. We'll go directly across from that again. 4. Let's see, and we'll go in the middle of those 2 holes. 5. And I'm going directly across from that hole for 6. And don't worry, my pen keeps on coming apart, but I'm just tapping it back. Maybe you have a hole punch and then you don't even have to get frustrated by that. So I got 6 holes. Now I'm going to go one more across here. 7. 8. So now you should have at least 8 holes. You could do more. I think this one has 16. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. That was a good guess. But we're just going to do 8. Next, we're going to decide on the yarn or thread you want. I got some funky stuff here. You could always use shoelaces or ribbon or whatever you have around the house. I'm just lucky I got these 2 colorful ones here in my studio. Now you can either do one big long piece of yarn, or you could do a couple smaller ones if it gets frustrating. Find the end of this. Aha! I'm going to try to do a big piece. See if that works. Something else you can do if it's really fuzzy at the end is you could wrap some clear tape around there so it's easier to thread through the holes. So you're going to tie a big knot at one end. Now this is going to be the back of my dream catcher and this is going to be the front. So I'm tying a big knot. Now sometimes it can be really frustrating to work with such a long piece of string because it gets all tangled up. So again, you could use smaller pieces and just tie knots as you go. It's not going to matter, it's going to look great either way. So we're going to start by threading through one of our holes. Okay. Now I'm going to pull the thread all the way through until it hits that knot. Okay. Now, if I was you, I would be doing this flat on the table. We'll see if I can do it upright so you can see what I'm doing. But you want to put your heart in the center here. And I'm going to start with the bottom part because it's easy for that heart to stay in place when it has that little dip right there. So you're going to thread through your heart and try to keep it somewhere in the center. So I went underneath, I went through the back with my string, and then I went woo, 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 underneath my heart here, and I'm going back over that part and over the rim of my plate, and now I'm going to go through this next hole. You could have some tape. Maybe I'll just go ahead and get some. Ugh. 1 second. Ta-da! Okay. So if you have some clear tape, you can just tape off the end, kind of like how a shoestring is, so you don't have to worry about it getting frayed. It'll be easier to thread that through. So I'm just putting the tape right on the end there and rolling it up nice and snug. There we go. And now I have a hard point to my thread. We've gone in one way and we caught the heart on its very bottom here. Now we're going over the rim of the plate here and then back through that hole to the front side. Now we don't want to pull too tight because we want to try to keep that heart as close to the center as we can. You might just need to move that heart a couple times as you're pulling. You can always tighten it up at the end. Again, I'm going under my heart. I think I maybe got too long of a piece of of yarn here. A lot. Okay. And now we're going to go back over the rim of the plate and through this next hole. So we're just going to be going that over, under, and through the heart until we get the whole thing threaded. Now if you want, you could always be adding beads to your inside of your dream catcher web as you go. I'm just going to add some beads to my tails at the end. Too long. Okay. So I'm going through the heart. I got it right there in the center. And I'm going over the plate. Through that hole and then under that heart and through the center of it. There we go. I'll just pull that bumpy yarn all the way through. That's a little bit too tight, so I'm going to loosen it up. Let's see. There we go, that's in the middle. I'm going to turn my heart as it goes so you can see what I'm doing, and so it's a little bit easier for me, which it would have been a lot easier for me if I had a shorter piece of yarn. This is ridiculously long. Okay, so I'm going through the back side of the plate. Making sure that heart's somewhere in the middle there. That looks good, it's not too tight. And now I'm going with my really long string through the center of the heart. Oh, there we go. I'll go through the back side of the plate. Man, hopefully your thread is not as long as mine is. I was over ambitious with the length of my yarn. You would think making it twice I would have already realized that, but you learn something every day. And today I learned that having a really long piece of yarn is very frustrating. But that's okay, I'm taking a deep breath. And I'm letting it go. Woo. And I'm feeling very positive about my dream catcher again. Okay, let's go through this heart. And going through this hole over here on the back side of the plate. There we go. It's all coming together. It's all working out. There's nothing to be stressed about here. So this look here. And now I'm going through once I find the end. Okay, I'm going through my heart. I'm going through the back side of my plate. And I'm going through my heart one more time. That looks pretty good. It's a little bit off center, so I'm going to try to move my thread a little bit, loosen up some of the sides just by moving it through there. There we go, that looks good. Now I'm going to tie it to that first knot. You could also go back through if you want. Artist choice, up to you. Okay, so I'm tying a little knot. I've got one tail from that leftover string. So you should have a little dream catcher with a little web. Hopefully yours is a little bit more centered than mine is. And I have one tail because I had a really long piece of thread. Now you can either tie your tails to the front or the back of the plate right at where your web's going through the plate. You can do it at the front or the back. These are tied on. In this example, I went ahead and threaded these extra lines through the plate. So I made a knot and threaded it through. Either way works, up to you. I'm going to cut this in half so it's easier to thread. And I'm going to go ahead and thread it through so you can see what that looks like. So I'm tying the knot at one end so it doesn't go all the way through the plate. There we go. I'm going to cut off my tail. And then at this end, I'm going to put that little piece of tape so it's like a shoelace again. And then I'm going to go through the back of the plate. There we go. And then you can cut it at any length you want. Do that again. So I'm tying a knot in my piece of yarn here. And I put big holes, so I had to tie a couple knots so it's nice and fat. And then I'm going to put the, oh, this already has tape at the end. I don't have to do that part again. Okay, and I'm going through the back of my plate. There we go. And then I'm going to trim it. Now at this point you can put on your beads and your feathers. I'm going to cut a couple of feathers out of the plate. You could, if you have real feathers, that works. You could draw it first if that makes you feel better. So I'll draw one so you can see the shape I'm going for. So I'm drawing like a skinny rectangle. That kind of looks like a feather. So I did like a long skinny rectangle and kind of an oval with a point at the end, and then just cut out some chunks so it looked like some feathers. I wish I had real feathers. So I got that. I got 3 tails, so I'm going to do 3 feathers. That one looks okay. And I'm going to do one more. Now the feathers are very important because it's where the good dreams and positive thoughts come down and drip into you. Because you're supposed to hang the dream catcher above your bed. Okay. So I got my tails. Now I'm going to go ahead and put on a couple beads. This is optional. If you don't have beads, don't worry about it. I'm going to put that tape back on here. So I'm putting on a bead and I'm just going to tie a knot. You might have to tie a couple depending on how big the hole is at the end of your bead. So that works. Do another one. See if we can do it without the tape. Just give this a little bit of saliva. So I got one bead and there's a big knot at the bottom. So I got 1, 2, and we'll do one more up on the other string. So I got my 3 beads on here. And like I said, you could have beads all in your web if you want to. This yarn's really funky. It has the balls on it, so I think it looks like it has beads in there anyway. So I didn't feel the need to put more on there. Now I'm going to tie my feathers on. You could use glue or tape if you're worried they're going to fall off, but I think mine will be fine just tying them. I got this nice stem here, so I'm going to use that. Got one. Again, I'm taking the end of the yarn and my funky looking handmade feathers, and I'm just taking the stem part and I'm wrapping the yarn around that stem of my feather at least once, maybe twice, and then I'm tying it in a knot and I'm cutting off that little extra bit. So I got 2 feathers. Now I'll do my last one over here. So I got the end of my yarn and I'm wrapping it around that stem of my feather and then tying a knot. So I got a couple beads, I got a couple feathers, but now I need to put another piece of yarn right here on the back in a little loop so we can hang it up. A piece of the yarn, and I have the back of the plate here, and I'm trying to go somewhere near the center of the heart at the top, and I'm just threading that yarn through right there. See, it's just resting right on that piece of yarn, and then I'm going to tie this top in a knot so it's a little loop. There we go. And voila! We got our I Have a Dream catcher. Now, I would love to see your creations, whether or not you went with just white, or if you decided to paint yours. And I'd love to see all your feathers and colorful beads you have on there, and hear about what your dreams are for a better future. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's art class. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and send me a message either on Instagram or via email. I would love to see what you made, of course. So please tag me in your photos at Freakin' Art on Instagram, or send me some pictures in email or snail mail. so I can see your beautiful dream catchers and hear about what your dreams are for the future. I hope you liked today's class. If you did, please like and subscribe and share with your friends. It really makes a big difference and helps me continue creating these fun online art classes for you. Well, thank you so much, and I'll see you next week, okay? Bye!